Hi, my name's Rob Goddard, and I'm talking today with a lady that climbed Everest and then came down Everest blind. If you'd like to find out more about the journey and the motivation of such a person, the video follows now. Hi, my name is Rob Goddard, and as you've picked up by now, if you've seen my other videos, I interview interesting people with a really interesting story. So I want to introduce Siv Harstad from Norway. Hi, Siv.
Hi.
Good to have you on board. I mean, you've got a tremendous story, which we're going to unpack a little bit. But you're about to fly off, aren't you, to Greenland? You're an adventurer, and we'll find
Yeah.
out some of the adventures. But you're about to fly off to Greenland. You've just got the okay last week.
Yeah.
So, what's on the plan for Greenland? What are you going to do there?
We're gonna do ski kiting. You've probably seen skiting on the water, but we're gonna do it with skis on our feet and
So
sleds behind us. And we're gonna do a distance of 1,100 kilometers.
and doing two dangerous pursuits at the same time.
Yeah.
Skiing and with a kite or a hang glider, some might say.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So you've got this adventurous spirit. So where was that triggered from?
I guess as a child, I always loved sports. But I went to Peru and walked the Inca Trail after having been in the Amazon jungle. And when I came there, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm home. I could see the mountains. And after that humid, hot jungle thing. And then I decided I wanted to climb Kilimanjaro.
As you
And
do.
I tried for 3 years to get somebody to go with me. And then I was thinking, okay, I'm just going to do it. And the company that I wanted to go with was fully booked. So I started to look at other options and ended up going for Aconcagua, which is the highest peak in South America. I didn't at the time understand that was 1,000 meters higher altitude and not a mountain I would recommend anyone to start with. But I managed to climb it, and that was like such a victory for me. So that's where it started. I got the mountain bug.
Yeah, and you have climbed the highest mountain in the world as well, Mount Everest, and I believe you're the first Norwegian lady to climb on the south face of that wonderful mountain.
It's true.
Yeah, and you'll always be the first lady.
Yeah.
Have you always climbed high altitude mountains then?
No, it started actually with that story in Peru, and I did my really high Aconcagua in 2008. And then I didn't really want to climb Everest. I was even asked a couple of times if I wanted to go. And I was like, no, thank you, because I thought it was, too dangerous and all that. And in the end, a friend talked me into it. And long story short, I ended up as the expedition leader of a Norwegian expedition going there in 2015. And for those with a very good memory, 2015 was the massive earthquake in Nepal.
Yeah.
7.9 on the Richter scale. Yeah.
Very frightening. I know you may know Derry Llewellyn Davies. He was stuck on Everest at that time as well.
Yeah, that was an incredible experience. For me, it was like being on a boat in a storm. You hardly could stand on your feet, but that earthquake triggered a rockfall for us. So we basically got a new dimension to run for your life. We managed to get out of there with nobody in our team being hurt, and of course we ended up canceling the expedition and going home. But I there and then decided, I'm going to go back next year.
So that didn't put you off. So there's some resilience in you.
True.
It didn't put you off at all. So you went back in 2016, and I know that you had some life-changing experiences, some extra challenges on the way on that 2016. So perhaps you could unpack that for the audience.
Yeah. So all the acclimatization, everything went really well. And then On our way to the summit, just at the south summit, I can notice my vision. I couldn't see the contours on the snow anymore, but I could see the summit. It was within reach. I was like, yeah, I can do this, you know,
Wow.
and headed up there. And basically at the summit, I stayed there for 15, 20 minutes. The vision got worse. And when I started down again, I couldn't see much. You see, you know the feeling when you get suntan lotion into your eyes?
Yeah.
It's kind of getting white. And back at the south summit, I couldn't see anything. I was like totally, everything was white. So it
What
became
did you,
like, sorry?
I was going to say, what did, at that moment, what did you think was happening? Did you know what was happening to your eyes?
No, I didn't know, because what happened was that I got edema on my cornea. But at the time, I believed that I had snow blindness because I had some problems with my oxygen mask. So
Right.
didn't have to take off my glasses to clean them from the condense and the
Yes.
freezing condense. And you never take off your glasses in that kind of altitude from, because the sun is so strong.
Mm.
Only I've forgotten I actually bought contacts with UV filters, so I physically couldn't get snow blindness.
Oh, right.
But because of the oxygen issue with my mask, my body probably got not enough oxygen, and the cornea, I learn now, is the organ in our body who is mostly sensitive to lack of oxygen. So to protect itself, it actually creates a
Mm.
fluid to protect the cornea, and
Right.
that prevented me from seeing. And I've learned also that I was really lucky, because if it sets itself, it can become permanent.
Permanent.
Mm.
Yeah. That must have been a very real fear for you at the time.
At the time, I thought I was snowblind, so that
Right.
goes away within a couple of days. So I
Right.
was lucky. I'm so glad I thought that.
That's when ignorance is good.
Yeah.
You
So
don't really know the true extent.
yeah.
So, I mean, after that experiences, you haven't stopped. You haven't hung up your equipment, mountaineering gear, and skis, because you've got a new challenge ahead of you.
Yeah. I
So,
already
yeah.
I already completed that 7 summits, which is a mountaineering challenge to climb the highest peak on each continent.
Wow.
Yeah. So that I done.
So you've climbed 7 mountains
Yeah.
and
More.
volcanoes, I hear, as well.
Yeah, the thing is, there is this, it's called Explorers Grand Slam within the mountaineering community, which is the highest peak on each continent, and then the North and the South Pole.
Right.
And as I was finishing the 7 summits, somebody like whispered in my ear, "Have you heard about the 7 volcanoes?" And I was like, "What? No." And I thought it was lame at first, I have to admit. But you know, an idea grows in your head. So I was starting to investigating it and found out currently it's only 23 people who's climbed the highest volcano on each continent. So I was thinking, I'm going to do that. And so I'm doing, you know, the North and the South Pole on, and also these volcanoes, but because as far as I know, nobody has done that yet. And I would so much love it to be a woman this time, to be first person.
So you're not just satisfied with climbing some of the highest summits in the world. You've also got to climb 7 volcanoes and go to either end of the globe.
Yeah. And I finished 5 of those 7 volcanoes now, so it's only 2 left and the poles.
Just out of interest, where are the other 2 volcanoes located that you've yet to climb?
One is in Papua New Guinea,
Okay.
and the last one is in Antarctica
Ah, so you're going to combine the Antarctica trip
with
with,
South Pole. Yeah,
right. So what comes first, North or South Pole?
South Pole.
Is
So
there a particular reason? Is it climatically better at the time of year?
no, because
Oh,
we had initially planned to go to the North Pole this April, and
right.
in January we got like, "Don't pay the money," and we're like, "What?" And they say, "Well, hold on, we need to check some things," and then we were told that because of the travel restriction coming into Norway, because we normally would fly out of Svalbard, this island north of
Yes.
Norway.
Yes.
Uh, it would be difficult for them to do the logistics out of Norway. So they asked us if we could do out of Murmansk, Russia instead.
Hmm.
And we're like, okay, we're doing it. It's a bit more adventurous flying out of Russia than our own country, of course, but still, we're in.
Yeah.
And then they got back to us and said, unfortunately, not enough people wanted to fly via Russia, and they need to have enough people to pay for everything, the logistics and everything. So in
Mm.
the end, it's postponed until next year.
Okay, next April, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm.
So then South Pole will be first.
Yeah, in November time.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit. You've named all of this. I mean, these tremendous adventures where you have to really dig deep. I would imagine, because it's not just the physical exertion; it's the mental as well. You've encapsulated it into one expression, haven't you? Dare to dream big. So tell me more about that. What's going
Yeah.
on there?
That is actually kind of a nice story, because I had my goal that I just told you about. And 2020 didn't go well for none of us. My plans to go to Papua New Guinea was canceled and blah blah. You have all of that. And then I talked to a friend of mine who is a jazz musician who's also planning to do the Explorers Grand Slam and have done 5 of those 7 mountains. Really sporty guy. And we agreed that we were going to join forces.
Right.
So it's quite interesting with my business background and his artistic background, having a team together. And we're thinking, actually the diversity and using each other's strength is actually going to make us do more and accomplish more together. And then having, a woman who wants to be the world first, and he's playing music in these locations where nobody have played before.
What's he going to play?
He has his saxophone with him.
But that must be very difficult to tune, I would imagine, in extreme temperatures.
Yeah, he's already played on the summit of Everest, and it's not his best work he played up there, but he's done it, and he's going to create a concert with the 70-person orchestra when everything is over. So
Yeah.
it's going to be fun. So we created this Dare to Dream project together, where we're going to do South Pole, North Pole together, and we're going to Greenland now to prepare and create really good habits, you could say, setting up our tents and having all those important routines in our body when we go to Antarctica in November.
Okay, and presumably you're involved with because this was going to cost a significant amount of money. These things do,
Yeah,
typically. So presumably you're working with some corporate sponsors, are you?
we're working with some, and we're looking for more sponsors for these
Okay.
polar expeditions.
Mm.
Yeah,
So they can get to work with you in different ways. They can advertise, promote their companies via your expedition.
absolutely. And we really like to do a custom deal with companies, because it's much better to agree what would be good for them and how can we, because we can do talks, concerts. We have a lot of things that we can give back,
Yeah.
and also, maybe have your logo on the kite, or we can do many
Mm.
cool things.
Yeah, yeah, and you're a TEDx speaker, I know from the past because I've seen you talk.
Yeah, and I
So
really love that.
yeah, it's not as the British would say, it's not everyone's cup of tea, is it? But you clearly you thrive in those sorts of conditions where you're facing your fears.
True, and to be able to share my stories from the mountaineering world with a little bit of my business background, because I've been a consultant for many years. I know what's going on in a lot of companies. You have so many changes. You have big projects that is affecting the way of working, and I've been in the management team, and I've been a HR head of HR and stuff like that. So it's easy for me to know how the people working in a company feel and what they're struggling with.
Well, I mean, that's where there's some crossover, because I've worked with sports people,
Hmm.
Olympians and athletes, and there is a crossover between excellence in physical activity, maybe sport, and business, isn't there?
Yeah. And
And
especially when we do extreme adventures, because there's like no room for errors.
mm,
Because when we go to Greenland now, we potentially can have a hurricane coming in. You need to have put up your tent properly because you want that to stay on the ground if that hurricane comes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And presume you've presumably spoken at business events then about your adventures,
yeah, yeah,
and you're open to doing more of those going forward.
absolutely.
And this sort of activities captures the attention of mainstream media, doesn't it?
Yeah, it it does.
It did with Richard Branson. He used to go up in hot air balloons
Yeah,
around the globe. But
and
we
that's
do
a
it.
wonderful experience. I've done it myself.
Do you know what, Siv? I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. So you are looking for people to come alongside in terms of sponsorship. What about people in your team? Do you still have gaps within your adventure team?
For these two expeditions, not really, but we're looking for, setting up because I do take people on adventures. So I do
Mm,
mostly like private things where we could take
right.
you somewhere, and we have some beautiful locations here in Norway, in the north, for instance, that we could take you for either a week or weekend, a long weekend, do something with a management team or something like that. That is something we
Yeah,
really.
I can vouch for that. I've been to Tromsø. I had a holiday in Tromsø
Mhm.
to try and see the aurora borealis,
Yeah,
and it was funny. The person who took us hunting for the
yeah,
northern lights said we start in Norway, we may go to Sweden. I
yeah,
said, should I bring my passport? She
yeah.
said, no one checks. There is no one in the Arctic Circle.
No.
It's a beautiful country, particularly up north. You're right. So yeah. So okay. So if people are looking to do some outward bounds adventure type things within their business, and they want a very unique and memorable location, get in touch with you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I know that what goes on in my mind is what motivates you.
I think it's like the wonderful feeling when you have reached an accomplishment, and I just do it for me, how I feel. Because
Hmm.
like climbing a high altitude peak, I'm on cloud nine for a couple of weeks afterwards.
Are you? Does it last that long?
Yeah. So that feeling, you want more of that.
Yeah. And so what's next after this? After the dare to dream big, and you've gone to both poles, you've done your 7 volcanoes and climbed some of the world's tallest peaks. What's next for Siv?
I have like a long list.
I thought you might. What's left for you? What other things have you got half an eye on for the future years?
Well, I have a beautiful peak in Peru, for instance, that I want to climb, and I have some. I want to go back to Nepal, also
Okay.
because I've been there many times, but I have some friends that are Sherpas, and probably organizing a trip, going there, helping them get a job afterwards. The struggle we're all going through right now, because they don't have any tourists, they don't have work.
Yeah.
So I'd done that after the earthquake as well. I organized a trip for people, and we spent 3 weeks in Nepal with these wonderful people, and things
Mm.
like that is what I love to do.
I just admire what you're doing, and it doesn't sound like you're going to retire anytime soon.
No, it's too early.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's my passion to do these things. So I love it. And I love it when I can help other people accomplish their dream, because, like, taking somebody to the summit of Kilimanjaro, for them, it's a dream. And for me, it's such a pleasure to helping doing that.
That's wonderful. So, how can people get in touch? Either if they want to be involved in the sponsoring of your expeditions, or they want to be in, they want to contact you about some sort of business outward bounds activity. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you, Siv?
I'll give you my website address
Okay.
and also my email. I'm
Okay.
easy to get hold on email, and like now when we go to Greenland, we're going to be offline for a month almost.
Yeah.
So phone, of course, if I'm around, I answer. But then if you send me an email, I know you tried while I was offline.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously you're on LinkedIn, I know, as well. So it's
Absolutely.
another way. Yeah. Well, we'll put your contact details on at the end. Is there
Mhm.
one final thought that you want to leave the viewer with that might sort of encapsulate your mindset or your vision about life?
I want everybody, or I believe that everybody can do so much more than they think they can. Because if somebody had told me that I had to climb blind from the summit of Everest and down to Camp 4, I would have said that's impossible. But here I am, I have done it, and it was possible.
Mm.
And that's the thing. I think we put in our head too many limitations on what we can do. So if I can help somebody pick up a dream that they have thought they wanted to do something, or even help them on how to put the steps together, that is something I would love to do, because I really want people to go more after their passions and the dreams in life. Either that is in business, in relationships, or whatever is your thing, you know?
Well, I couldn't put it any better myself. You've encapsulated, I think, what many of us aspire to do is to go beyond what we think is possible.
Mm.
So thank you for your time. And I would say best of British, but may you have safe travels.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing the book out, the movie,
Thank you.
whatever podcast that you're doing. I look forward to hearing about your travels.
Thank you so much,
All
Rob.
right. Thank you for your time. Good luck.
Thank you.